Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to embark on a journey like no other. Welcome to the Glum Lot Podcast,
your go-to destination for a unique blend of recovery and discovery.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Mark. And in this podcast, we will endeavor to create a safe and uplifting space for our guests and listeners to share their stories with sincerity and a touch of humor.
Remember, we are not a Glum Lot. The Glum Lot Podcast is more than just a source of entertainment. It's a beacon of hope, proving that even in the darkest moments, recovery is possible. Every story we share carries the power to inspire positive change.
So buckle up, get ready to listen, and join us in discovering the strength that lies within every individual's journey. This is the Glum Lot Podcast, where humor meets hope. Okay, Brett and Mark here for a landmark episode number 30.
Just had to put Mark in there one more time.
30. Yes, I like to say my name a lot.
Landmark.
A real lot. Landmark by Mark and Brett. So, episode number 30.
Number 30.
Number 30.
I am picking on you today. I'm
30
sorry.
is dirty. I don't mind.
I know.
I really don't.
I know.
Hey, got a thing we can talk about, and I forgot what it is. Do you remember what I said?
I think it takes what it takes.
It takes what it takes. Yeah. And you know what that means to me? When you decide to do something, you say, well, here's what I'm going to do. And if it doesn't work, you're like, fuck this, man, and you walk away.
Or, you know, if we find out that it takes just a little bit more than what we were planning.
Boy, we're pissed off.
Oh, yeah. I jump ship. I'm done.
I thought this was going to be easy.
Yeah.
That happens to me a lot.
Well, what do you mean I got to do this? And I can just hear him say in the background.
You know,
Sponsor.
a lot of times, and I will say this for myself, particularly with like home repair projects, I think it's going to go smoothly, and here's what I need to do, and something always comes up, and I get pissed off.
So it takes...
And it's not good.
If it takes 50 trips to Home Depot...
Yeah, and you know what I got to go in?
Takes.
Instead of going in and saying, here's what I got to do to accomplish this, I've got to go in and say, here's what I'm going to do, but expect the unexpected.
There you go.
And you got to roll with the punches.
And life does that to us, doesn't it?
It does.
It's not going to stop.
A lot, especially with people.
Oh,
we expect. It's all about expectations,
humans.
isn't it? And my sponsor always told me when expectations are high, serenity is low.
That's right.
So if you can plan the plan, but not plan the results, and go in with not high expectations, you're probably going to lead us a more serene life, or at least have a more serene experience.
It takes some surrender to do that, too.
Yeah.
You know, surrender.
Did you ever watch the show The Mindy Project? It was Mindy Kaling.
Yeah. I only know her from the Office.
There's her love interest in there was another doctor. His name was Danny.
Danny the doctor?
Yes, he was from Staten Island. He was like a real New York guy. And his famous saying was, well, not for nothing, but at the end of the day, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Which really doesn't mean anything.
Oh, my gosh. My wife's going to kill me, but when I first met her, she loved that saying.
Well, it is what it is.
Oh, my gosh. And, you know, a control freak and, you know, wanting to direct the show. When you tell me it is what it is, the hell it is.
And what that really means is you got to accept it.
Yeah.
Acceptance.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's why she was not so worked up all the time like I was.
We learned something from that woman, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I guess so.
Yes.
So without further... talk.
Yeah,
we have a guest today that comes to us. I think I might have been at his first meeting. I know I was at his second meeting.
Really?
And me and him just hit it off instantly. You know, great guy. When he came in, he was kind of a hippie, which I really dug, you know?
Yeah.
Like a hippie vibe.
Yeah.
He still kind of does.
Got that.
But he, through the years of his sobriety, has just laid some wisdom out in meetings that has blown me away.
Yeah.
And I'll let him tell the story, but he's doing great things with his life.
And I think there's some reinvention of himself in there too.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
You know, and he's a guy that's really taken a hold of sobriety, and it's really transformed him in every way.
And I'm pretty sure he helps a lot of others.
He helps a ton of people.
Yeah.
And I know some of the people that he's helped, and they all speak so highly of him.
How about that?
And he's a really laid back guy too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
With a great message. So let's welcome Tim.
Tim.
Welcome to the Glum Lot Podcast, Tim. Glad to have you.
Glad to be here.
Okay, let's start out with your sobriety date.
Sobriety date is May 10th, 2017.
Okay, May 10. Take note of that, 5/10/17.
Coming right around the corner.
All right,
Yeah.
so we
7
like
years
to
coming up.
start out with your first experience with the effects of alcohol.
Oh, boy.
So do you remember it?
I do remember it,
Oh,
actually.
do tell.
It actually, that memory came to me later on in sobriety. Embarrassingly, I would say I was 5 years young at my
Jesus.
first drunk.
Yeah.
Wow, first drunk.
So
First drunk.
what happened? Were you just left in a room with...
No, basically, it was Sunday gatherings around the family, and I would just go around and hit everybody's glass.
Nice.
Nice.
And,
Isn't Tim
oh.
cute? Oh, look, he's trying to take some of my drink.
That's about what it was, too, yeah. So instantly, I hate to say it, but I was instantly hooked.
Yeah.
The whiskey got me.
So you remember the warm feeling?
Oh,
and
I
the
do.
Slow
Absolutely.
down, and yeah.
It wasn't like, phew, it was, wow.
Wow.
And, yeah.
And so
that had
from
me.
there, as you got older in your early teens and stuff, you sought it out?
I did, from that point on, I mean, obviously at that young, it was really just the Sunday gatherings
Yeah.
at the grandparents. And at a very young age, I just looked forward to that. And then just being the young guy in the neighborhood, I would just seek out, my brother, his friends, all the older crowd. So, I jumped right into that at a way too young age.
It was available to
Yeah, it
you.
made
It
you fit
was
right in with them.
readily available.
What about smoking dope and all that?
everything?
Yeah,
I was a
everything
classic
became available.
garbage head.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And so you're in your teens. What's it like?
In my teens, it was, the weekend binges. We would have parties all over the place, the occasional couple of times during the week. So, I really dove right in. It wasn't no stint, stop, go, stop.
But at that time, it probably doesn't seem that abnormal, right?
No,
because everybody's
not at all.
partying.
Everybody
How was school
doing it.
going?
School was good. I was always a good student, right up through my high school years and everything.
No troubles?
No troubles. I always flew under the radar.
Yeah.
I was smart enough to do that, And we did some pretty crazy things in school as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, this is a weird
Real
memory that
crazy.
you actually, when you said that, I just thought
Real
of this.
crazy.
I think he wants to tell us one of the crazy
Tell
things.
us. Ooh, tell
Please.
us. Tim, tell us.
Well,
If you tell
please.
me yours, I'll tell you mine.
Just
so,
one.
but behind the high school, there would always be a flask passed around in class. There were a few classes where us heads would just have some lines
Must have
laid
been
out
Spanish
in a
class.
book. Social studies was the main one.
So you're
so
snorting coke in
Lines
class.
laid
aren't
out
you?
in the book, and we would pass that textbook around, and
You'd
just
be
go at it.
studying Columbia.
Yeah,
you would open the page
we
on
were
Columbia.
studying, all right, yeah.
I remember, and this is, I think we're probably the same age. I might be a little older. I don't know. But I
Or
remember.
I might be a little older. I don't
how old
know.
are you?
I'm 59.
I'm Okay.
Okay.
So you're a child.
Way older.
You're a
God
child,
bless you.
Tim.
I am.
But I remember in 6th grade, we were playing football out in the schoolyard. We used to take they didn't call it recess. They called it break or something where you'd have 45 minutes. So we're all out there. And I hung out with some pretty bad kids. I got along great with them. But I was a good student too,
Right.
And so we're playing football and we're in the huddle. And one of the kids in the huddle, his father owned a porn shop.
Okay.
So he pulls out this porn mag, and another kid pulls out a bottle of whiskey. This is in 6th grade. I'm 12 years old. And we're passing around the porn mag and the bottle in the huddle.
Nice.
And I'm thinking, this is pretty cool.
Right, I
It
could
didn't
do this.
But it didn't seem abnormal
No,
to me,
not at all.
And so, I sought that out not only from the feeling standpoint, but from a social standpoint.
Right.
It gave you a lot of, acceptance and credibility.
Absolutely.
Among those kinds of kids.
Perhaps a little excitement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all of the above.
I forgot that they called us heads,
Yeah.
but they did.
That's the
You're
second
all
time I've heard
heads.
this garbage head thing.
Yeah. So, no repercussions really, right, in high school?
No repercussions. I mean, I was, even right up through my senior year, merit, honors, merit, all that stuff.
Nice.
Last semester, though, it was just like, F it, I'm already done. So I stopped everything. And
you know, what's funny is my daughter is in her last semester of high school.
Okay.
And she's already been accepted to college and gone there and all that shit. And she has senioritis so bad.
Right.
And I'm like, you got to graduate.
Hang in there. Hang in there.
Yeah. So do you go to college?
I didn't at that time, no.
Okay, so
no.
what was your next move?
Next move, basically, got a job. I worked a couple of full-time jobs, met the first love of my life, or what I thought, instantly, pretty much right out of high school. I mean, I was married at 19, first kid at 20. And,
Wow.
Then it was family life and just working.
Did family life include drinking?
It did, yeah.
Drug use?
Yeah, just me, though. It wasn't the wife or anything like that. So me, my friends, so yeah, that was always going on.
Mm-hmm. And so it is a progressive disease. Did your disease progress?
Absolutely, but that really didn't happen until many years later.
So you're managing your life.
I'm barely managing.
Yeah, but you're still protecting your drinking, and that's.
Yep,
but
absolutely.
You're going to work.
Yep.
Drugs now and then.
More now.
More now.
And then, yep.
We'll have some later, but I doubt there'll be any left. So you're following. This is your life.
That's my life.
You've fallen into this life,
yep.
And at any point, does it get ugly? Does it get dark?
Towards the end of the first marriage, so the first marriage lasted 24 years.
Jesus, wow, that's a long time.
That's pretty good.
It was a run, and it was one of those things. I really can't blame anybody. We grew apart.
Right.
We married so young. Now we're in our 40s.
Your kids are grown.
Kids are grown, and we just grew apart. And next thing I know, I come home from work one day. She says, "I'm done. I can't do this anymore." And 5 days later, she was gone.
Oui.
So
how'd you take that?
I took that really hard. Right after that, within a few days, my youngest, he moved out with his girlfriend. My oldest, who was rebel to the core, I had to kick him out of the house. So now I'm in this big house,
alone.
Complete empty nest syndrome.
What did that do to your drinking?
That amped it up a little bit, not to the point where it was out of control, but like I said, I was just like a steady drinker throughout the whole thing.
Right.
But now I'm drinking a little bit more and feeling I got this freedom. I'll do whatever the hell I want,
Mm-hmm.
So
does that contribute to the progression of your alcoholism?
Well, yeah, obviously it did. I mean, I've never been mindful of my drinking and drug use. It was just a norm for me.
It was a way of life. Yeah.
So that all that stuff never ended.
But still, in your mind, you're thinking this is not that abnormal. Right?
Yeah.
The first inklings of maybe this is a problem haven't crept in?
Never once crept in. Never once.
Huh.
Okay.
Had you been told?
No.
Ah, okay.
Never once.
So you're managing.
I'm managing. Barely.
Yeah, like you keep saying, you're flying under the radar.
Barely
managing.
Totally under the radar.
Yeah. And you know something? I existed that way for a long time, too. I did just enough to get, I was responsible. But everything revolved around protecting that buzz.
Yeah.
I had to have that.
Absolutely.
And I was a maintenance drinker, so
Yep.
every day I had to have that. A day did not go by where I did not get it.
There was not a day that went by for me.
Some
either.
days hard, some days just a buzz,
Yep.
but always present,
Yep.
And so what happened with you with this, steady, even keel way of drinking?
So, when all that went down, I went through a lot of what I call those midlife crisis changes. So I pretty much changed a lot of things. Basically, lost the house. I couldn't maintain that on my own income, so that went into foreclosure. I mean, even up to that point, we're talking countless bankruptcies, repos, all that stuff. Never associating that with my problem.
Right.
Of drinking and drugging. So I just never
made the connection.
Never made that connection, So again, I'm still flying under the radar for years.
Now, did those types of things, though, the bankruptcies, the repo, did that get to you? Or was that just, You just do it.
Didn't even faze me.
Not at all.
Did not even faze me.
Dang,
That's how ignorant
Yeah.
I was, and then came a point in time where I started working this new job, which I thought was the cat's ass. Now I'm traveling up and down all the whole East Coast with this new company.
Ooh.
And it was a great job. I had a lot of fun. I always said jokingly, it's the only job where I can go and get high, because I used to sandblast and paint steel water tanks, towers, bridges.
Oh, so you're one of the guys that
man.
climbs up on those.
Oh, yeah.
And that pays well, doesn't it?
And that paid
heck
well.
yeah.
Yeah.
I saw it on Dirty
Ballsy.
Jobs.
Yeah, so you have no fear of heights.
No.
God, I need you.
Doesn't bother me.
Not at all.
That's crazy.
I
would literally shit myself.
Some real...
I'd have to get up there first.
Yeah, I couldn't even get up
No
there.
way.
I did some videotaping with the drone of a company that did cell tower repair.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm on the ground with the drone, looking at the screen, and
that's even got
my
you.
balls are tingling just watching these guys up on top of this. And I'm seeing it from above them.
Right.
So I'm looking down, like, oh my God. But some
Yeah,
people
when I'm
have
on a water tank like that and I see these cell towers, I'm like, man, I would love to climb that.
Oh, what in the world?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Wow.
The higher the better.
Wow.
No
So,
kidding.
Yeah. But you would do this high?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yup.
man.
We'd be drinking in the morning before and doing our thing during the day, and I mean it was never ending.
Yeah.
It was never ending. And I've had a couple of real hair-raising experiences, almost falling.
Close calls?
Oh yeah.
That didn't make you want to stop?
Can't even stand
no.
hearing that.
No. No. Sandblasting, hitting my fingers,
Oh,
chewing
that's
it all
no
up,
good.
Yeah.
right down to the bone, and almost falling.
Right, and you're
off
up there.
of-
There's nothing you can do
almost
about it.
falling off of scaffolding. Oh yeah, no, you're harnessed off, so
Yeah.
you
Doesn't matter.
you got that safety.
Right, you don't want to slip, though.
Yeah, no,
It's a
you
bad
don't-
scene, no
no.
matter how you cut
Yeah,
it.
Well, I've slipped
Yeah.
a few times.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got this job, you're traveling, you're drinking and smoking, whatever, and doing whatever, and
Up in the crow's nest.
yeah, does something happen along the way?
When I was working out of state, met up with wife number 2.
Ooh.
So that
Do
was
tell.
that was
Was she a partier?
yeah, she was. So we did our thing for.
Did you write her name up on the water tower?
No,
Okay.
no.
I'm curious.
But so we the company I worked for, they asked if I'd be interested in relocating. So I moved down to Virginia Beach for about 6 years.
That's a nice place to live.
It was until it wasn't.
What
getting
happened?
somewhere.
What happened to
We're getting
Virginia Beach,
somewhere.
Jim?
That's where everything really started to fall apart. The first few years of us living together, it was great, and I'm not here to bash anybody or anything like that. But the minute we said our I do's, it was an I don't.
Yeah.
And so everything went downhill real quick from there.
Okay.
And we
Was it a quick romance?
yeah, I would say it really was. It was just one of those things where we were introduced to some harder stuff, and from that moment, I was instantly hooked.
Gotcha.
Instantly. And that's when everything amped up.
Okay.
My drinking, my drugging, all that stuff. And lost everything,
Wow. You lost the job,
Yep, lost everything.
lost the wife.
Yep. I walked away from the wife.
Okay.
Because I had to, because fast forward a few years later, this is now 2017, after losing everything, relocating back up to New York, trying to get our lives back on track, and that lasted for about a nanosecond.
You and her together?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, we were still
Now
together.
you were still using?
Yep. Well, no, we stopped for a very brief moment.
Okay.
My drinking never stopped, though, at
Yeah.
any time. The weed smoking, that never stopped at any time. That continued. But the other stuff did just for a nanosecond. And we were all set to, get a place of our own and let's celebrate.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of the end. and so those I'm lost in time frame, but in a matter of months, everything fell apart.
Crashed and burned.
Big time.
Are you on your own at this point?
I am running back and forth where we were living, because like every time we'd have a big argument, which was like every 2 or 3 days, she would run down to her mom, stay there, and, a couple of days later.
And are
kiss and
you
make
both
up.
still using at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you thinking in your mind that it's a problem?
At this point now, I'm like, this might be a problem.
This might be contributing to the dysfunction.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny how much dysfunction we can take.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and bullshit our way through. Yeah.
I mean, and we even enjoy it sometimes.
Sometimes you get
but
off
that
on
chaos and dysfunction, we tend to think it's our lives and that the other substances are only helping us get through it.
Right.
When, in fact, it's usually based on we haven't grown.
Absolutely.
We have no connection spiritually. We haven't emotionally matured.
Yep. I'm still a 10-year-old.
Yeah, me
Hey,
too.
me too.
I was just talking. I was just at the gym and I saw my brother-in-law. We were talking about. He has a 14-year-old son, and he's a guy who's a 14-year-old. I said, "You and I are kind of 14-year-olds."
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, you're right. We are."
Yeah, so like they say, you start to mature when the sobriety hits. So technically, I'm only about 17.
I haven't matured since.
Oh, I'm not even close. I'm about 11 now. I just got done pouting not too long ago.
We all do.
I did that on the drive home from work.
Yeah, that's it.
So you're bouncing around this relationship. Your use is heavy. Your life's getting
Extremely
darker than normal.
It's getting darker and darker. So at this point, I'm just like really hating life. I'm hating myself. I'm praying to God, take me tonight. I do not want to wake up and go through this anymore.
You're done with it.
So Any background in God or belief or anything like that?
Yeah, I do have a belief in God. Raised Catholic, so I do. God is a God of my misunderstanding. I like to say.
But you held on to that.
Yeah, I always held on to that. So that went on for a couple of months, and I could not control my using, my drinking, any of that stuff. I'm still in the throes of my disease.
Without even realizing.
Without even realizing it. Knowing something's wrong, but not realizing it, you know. And, I pissed everything away, Everything that I had. I had a great job, 6-digit figure a year, nothing to show for it anymore, and it all went to my disease predominantly, They say, one of the things that we often hear in the rooms as far as, I gave it all away. Well, I pawned it all away to maintain. And that's really where I was at.
So
Lost
what was the point at which it hit you?
The point at which it hit me. Oh, boy. This is a tough one. So at this point in time, we're barely together. We're just this was realize this was a complete toxic relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, we could not be civil to one another.
Fueled by drugs.
Fueled by drugs, yeah, big time. So that one night, I remember it like it was yesterday. She went out with her friends, and I stayed home, and I had everything lined up on my TV table.
Yes,
that's
nice.
That's
next
normal.
to the Swanson.
Yeah.
It's normal.
Yeah,
And a little
I didn't even
buffet.
bother.
That you
feeding,
didn't eat.
no.
Hell no.
Alcohol fueled my appetite,
How could I forget?
And so I was doing everything. And when I say everything, I had it lined up. It's okay to talk about what these things are.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, we all do.
Of course, you
Oh,
want to
yeah.
hear this stuff. So on my TV table,
see what's on the
I
menu.
got beers lined up, I got weed lined up, I got crack cocaine lined up, and I got heroin lined up.
Yeah, that's a
whole
cycle of
A potent buffet you
I'm
have.
burning, I'm snorting, I'm drinking, I'm doing it all. And obviously, it was a bad batch, and it took my lights out. So, I want to say I died that night. Technically, I didn't die because I'm still here. So one of the terms that I often refer to is I had a near-death out-of-body experience that night.
Well, it took you out.
It took me out.
And
Literally took me out.
Yeah.
What do you remember from that?
Wow. I remember coming to 3 different times, because each time I came to, I was in a different place in the room. I remember hovering over myself, looking down on myself, seeing my dog scared shitless in the corner, looking at me, shaking. And then all of a sudden, I heard a voice.
Yeah.
I literally heard a voice. And it said with such firmness, "Get up." And in that second, I got up. I had no energy in me whatsoever. I had all I could do to muster enough energy just to lift my upper body up. And I managed to crawl my way to the phone. And this is like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I called my mom.
Huh.
And she knew that we were already all into that and messed up and everything. And, you know, as soon as she answered, she just said, "What's wrong?"
Right.
Right, it's 3 a.m.
3 a.m.
Right.
Something's up.
And I said, "Come and get me." And that night, you know, it's a little over an hour drive. So now we're talking 4 a.m. She came and got me. Within that time of waiting, the now ex shows up, and she saw me packing.
Yeah.
As pathetic as this sounds, the only thing I walked out of that place with was my case of beer.
No shit.
No shit.
So you packed up those beers.
I packed up
took
those beers.
all your belongings.
Yeah.
And the clothes on
Literally.
your back.
And I'm good. You know?
Yeah.
So there was a pissing match going on there. You know, she walked in. "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm done. I'm leaving."
And that's a threat to her, too.
That's a threat to her, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, so the anger and violence started with her. Now, mind you, I was the one really being abused in this relationship. You know, it was very toxic. And so as her anger is raging, I simply just grabbed that case and walked out the door, went down the stairs, sat on the porch, and waited for Mom to show up.
Huh.
So when you have this near-death experience and you wake up from it, are you thinking to yourself, "I need help with this"?
Like they say, I had that moment of clarity.
Uh-huh.
I knew I needed to do something because I knew I wasn't going to be around much longer.
Right. You didn't even want to be around.
No, I didn't want to be
Yeah.
around.
So your mother comes and picks you up.
Yep.
What happens? What transpires from there?
It was a silent ride home. And, you know, basically I told Mom, I said, "I need to go into rehab. I need to do something." I said, "And I'll tell you right now, Mom, I'm not going to stop until I go." And she didn't say nothing about that.
And if it's alcohol too, they tell you not to.
Oh, right.
I mean, you can
For your health.
you can do a number on yourself
Yeah.
if you try to cold turkey out.
So I continued. For,
How many days
for
did it take you to
still
get to bed?
Another, let's see, that happened on the 6th. Yeah, that was like May 6th. I got a bed on May 12th. And the reason why my sobriety date is the 10th is because I literally ran out of money to afford anything. I had nothing left
you
to
were
pawn.
done.
I was done. I was done.
Couldn't even get it.
Couldn't even get it.
So you get to rehab. They detox you first, right?
Yep.
And
Well, they almost didn't want to take me because they thought I was suicidal.
Oh.
I was.
yeah.
I was
So what would they
suicidal.
put you in, like a psych place
They
instead?
probably would have shipped me out somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you get detox, you get out there, and you start the rehab program, and you want to get clean, right?
I was fighting pretty much every step of the way, even in rehab.
Just didn't want to let go?
I was not doing anything.
Did you believe you
being
had
told.
a problem with drugs and alcohol?
By this time, yeah, I did.
Okay.
And you know, I think that and
People telling you what to do.
my higher power is what kept me there.
Oh, okay.
Because basically what was the first 28 days in rehab, the first 3 weeks, I was fighting it tooth and nail. I was just one of those argumentative type persons and just not listening to anything.
What changed after the third week?
That's a good question. I really don't know, because one thing that I always say, and I remember distinctly, we were allowed one phone call a week, and every Thursday night when I'd call my mom, she would say, "What do you need me to bring you to Saturday?" And I'd always say, "Don't bring me a fucking thing, because I'm leaving with you Saturday."
Oh, so every Saturday you were out.
Every Thursday, that's what I would tell her, and every Saturday
You'd stay?
I would stay.
What made you stay?
I don't know.
Huh.
God.
Something made you stick it out another week.
Yep.
At least until Thursday when you wanted to leave again.
Yeah.
So, after that third week, something changed then. You became a
Compliant.
little open?
Just compliant, finally listening to like the people who would come into rehab, the lectures, all that. I just started listening because I was done fighting.
And so what you heard was making sense to you? Was it some of your story?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I started to make some connections with some really good people, but still fighting it tooth and nail. But I knew that's what I needed to do, because if I didn't do something, I just knew in my heart that if I just walk out of here and don't continue something,
You're done.
I'm done.
So now you were in there for 28 days?
28 days.
So those 4 days without a drink or a drug, first time ever in your adult life, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel different? Like physically, are you feeling healthier, or do you have a clarity of any kind? Or
I guess you could say I did have a little bit of clarity. I knew I needed to change everything about my life. Like they say in the rooms, you got to change everything except your name and social security number. Mm-hmm. And I knew that that's what I needed to do, even though I had no clue what that was going to look like.
But so you started the work in that 28-day span.
Yep.
Did you have a plan for getting out?
No.
Was that rehab a 12-step based rehab? Have you had any experience?
Yeah,
at all?
it was. I guess you would say it was a 12-step based rehab, because they would have guest speakers come in from the 12-step program, and I met quite a few people who I still see in the rooms today. And I just made those kind of connections.
And so you get out after that 28 days. Where are you? Like, what happens? Would you walk out without a plan? And
walk out without a plan. Thank God I had a roof over my head. I had to go back and live with Mom. And honestly, that's where I am still today.
Yeah.
Things happen in a very ironic way, and I struggled with that for years, 5-6 years. Okay, it's only been really recently that I've come to terms with that, and I see it today that it was meant to be that way, because now I'm not only getting better myself, but my mom is up there in age, and I am able to do things for her because she is, she's deteriorating, and at least I'm there.
Yeah. So you get out, you do it outpatient?
I did outpatient.
Are you attending meetings on a regular basis?
Attending meetings on a regular basis. Yep.
Do you meet someone who you asked to sponsor you?
That took a while.
Yeah?
That took a while. It did,
It's tough.
It really is.
Well, I remember when I first met Tim. You were just out.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I remember our first conversation.
Yeah, I do too.
I didn't know if I could bring that up
do
or
it.
not.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So our first conversation, he's sitting, we're sitting next to each other, and Mark says, "So what's your drug of choice?" And I told him, I said, "Crack cocaine." And he said, "Whew, that's a bitch." Those were his exact words.
It was.
And and I'm not just saying this, but you are, a huge inspiration. You are part of my recovery, and I'll
it's
always
funny,
be
Tim?
grateful for that.
You're part of my recovery, and
How
I'm
about
always
that?
like when you said yes to coming on the podcast, I was thrilled, because you've
Yeah, I was
always
a
been
nervous
someone at the meetings who, when you speak, I listen. And there's one thing in particular that you said at a meeting that really stuck with me, and it was about the storm. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
I forgot
do.
what the topic was, but so Tim says somebody was in a world of shit, basically.
Serenity is not freedom from the storm; it's peace within the storm.
And so that's so true because life is going to be stormy.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no getting around it. If you can't find a way to deal with that, you're not going to have serenity.
Yeah.
But that's, a lot of what we discuss in the meetings is people come in and they've got a shitstorm.
Yeah.
And they need to hear probably words they've already heard before, but they need to hear it fresh from people who have the same disease they have. And, man, that's where the magic is,
And, I obviously, that line is not from me. That is on a medallion that I got when I completed treatment from the rehab.
Nice.
You still have it?
I still have it.
That's awesome.
It's hanging on my rearview mirror.
Yeah.
Cool.
And, Tim is one of the reasons I was so thrilled to have him on the show because not only did Tim get sober, but it literally changed the course of his life. And so can you tell us about that? I mean, it changes the course of everyone's life. But in Tim's case, it was very specific. And just when I was seeing this happening, I'm like, this is so fucking cool.
So through outpatient, by this point now, I'm like starting to engage, and I'm like, this is something that I can live with. So through outpatient and the shares that I do, I was always told time and again, and I'm not patting myself on the shoulder, but like the peers who I would do outpatient with, they would come up to me after and say, what you said really moved me, or you should become a counselor. You need to do something in relation to, rehab and, counseling and things like that. And after hearing that so many times, I'm thinking, geez, maybe I should.
Maybe they're onto something.
Yeah.
Maybe they're onto something. And so in a really quick amount of time, I enrolled back into college.
Nice.
Pursuing that career. And
I remember when you would leave meetings and say, I got to go home and do homework. And every once in a while I'd say, how's it going? And you'd say, well, I'm working towards getting my certified, you called it a KSAC, but it's Certified Alcoholism and Substance Abuse Counselor.
Yes.
And I was like, that's so fucking cool.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, talk about, sharing your gift, I mean, granted, you're working for a company in a corporate environment. That's tough for us. It is.
Yeah.
But somebody like you can make such a difference because there's a lot of people that do that don't have the experience of it.
Well, I mean, I had probably a dozen of them, and it wasn't until...
And we're not knocking it because they're very trained people and they help a lot of people. But there's something at the gut level that if some people are unreachable, someone like you can reach them. Because they believe you, because they know. We know each other. We know in our guts.
I only hope that I'm reaching people.
Yeah, I think you. I know you are. Actually, people have told me.
I would like to believe that I am.
Our first guest ever, Matt Y, says that he was in the rehab where you work, and he was just could not say enough good shit about you. And when I told him, I knew he's like, oh my God, I love that guy. So you're making a difference.
He's a hell of a guy. He is.
So you got the certification. You start working in the rehab business.
Yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about what that's like?
Just even in this short time, the face of recovery has changed quite a bit. There's certain protocol that you have to follow that some of us don't necessarily agree on, but it does serve a purpose, because everybody's road to recovery is different. Do I have my own belief? Yes. Do I think a 12-step based program works? Absolutely. That's one of the things that really stuck with me when I was in rehab. One of the counselors, and he said with such conviction that, can I use the words AA?
Oh, yeah, no problem.
So
Tim, basically, you can say anything you want.
This counselor, he said with such conviction that, the importance of Alcoholics Anonymous and working a 12-step program. If you follow the program, if you work the steps, I will guarantee you will recover.
Worse if
you
work
won't
it.
be cured, but you will recover. And, I remember that like it was yesterday, the way he said it with just like this.
From the gut.
From the gut and using his whole body. And I'm just like, that just really resonated with me. And even up to that point, 52 years old, I'm thinking I know everything. I got all the answers. Well, this dumbass never even heard of AA prior to rehab.
Wow.
Really?
Never even heard of it.
Okay. I mean, I didn't know much about it, I'll be honest with you. I knew what it was, but I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I never even
I had
knew.
just seen it
never
like
even
Saturday
knew
Night
it
Live sketches and shit.
existed. Never even knew it existed.
So you're in a position to see a lot of, everybody that walks through that door is struggling.
Oh yeah.
And so you've seen it all.
Oh, yeah.
And you've seen people that want to get well, and you see people who don't give a shit about getting well. People that leave early, get kicked out early, people that need to stay long. It's just, to me, that's so fascinating. Yeah. I only know, my story and the stories of my friends that I've made in the program and some people I've sponsored. But you've seen a lot. Must see a lot of failure.
I do.
Yeah. You've got to be pretty rooted to be able to deal with that.
Yeah, I definitely believe that, because it can take a toll on somebody. You gotta know that, when you're walking into a place like that, you just gotta, put that counselor hat on and, try not to take that home with you.
It's like being a doctor.
Yeah.
People are going to die. You can't save everyone.
Yep.
In fact, you're lucky if you can save a few.
Yep.
And I think, they have to go through some kind of process to get through that. And my wife is a paramedic, firefighter, and she sees it all. She sees death all the time. And, they have training for it, obviously, because it can scar you, Let me ask you this. Can you tell us a few of the characteristics that you see of why people fail in recovery?
Yeah, there's a lot.
I get there's got to be multitudes, right?
It's just why they do, like they say in the rooms, and that's why I so believe in it. You have to surrender to win, and people still want to drive their own bus. They want to call the shots, and they just don't make that connection yet. It's one of those things where they haven't had their last drink.
Right.
Yeah.
So they don't have a lot of people that don't have the gift of desperation.
Yeah.
Rehab is just another thing they're doing to be able to get through it.
Yep.
So, they get a couple DWIs, whatever. They get a lawyer. The lawyer says, blah, blah, blah. Go to rehab. Okay, I'll go to rehab. And they just kind of fucking go through the 28 days with blinders on.
Yeah.
Because they don't want it. They're not ready for it.
Yep.
They don't think they need it. And then there's other people who come in that are like you. That you need it. You didn't exactly want it,
Right.
until you wanted it.
Yeah, I was.
You got there till it got you.
I was, throughout my whole thing, I was what they say. I was completely in that pre-contemplative stage.
Yeah, and you must see a lot of that.
Oh yeah.
Do you see in your work? Do you see a lot of denial that's trying to disguise itself?
Absolutely, all the time, day in and day out.
That's the thing
day.
about this disease.
Throughout
When you
the
have
day.
cancer, you're not in denial. You don't say, "No, I don't."
Right.
Right.
Doctor
Right.
tells you you got cancer. He shows you the shit.
Right.
You're like, "All right, let's do it."
Well, if you didn't do this, I wouldn't drink.
Right, but with booze, holy shit. Denial is such a large component.
And heck, I bet you
Absolutely.
even get blamed for it sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this denial thing is, there's a few mechanisms of this disease that are just uncanny. And one of them to me has always been denial because I experienced it so much. I experienced denial even when I wasn't in denial. That's how fucked
Right.
up it is.
Yeah, it is.
I will
protecting
and
it.
people will say, when I came into the rooms, I admitted I was an alcoholic 10 years before that. But I figured I'd manage it. And then when I couldn't manage it anymore, I came in. And I had no problem saying I was powerless over it because when I drank, I didn't know that was going to happen.
Right.
I had no problem saying I couldn't manage it anymore, but I was not insane. I will not do that step 2 thing. Insanity, what?
Right.
I'm not. And so every step of the way, there's something, and then I got a problem with the God
Well,
thing.
I think a lot of times our intelligence gets in the way. We've said it 100 times. that
absolutely.
The majority of people
Absolutely.
with this problem are very intelligent. And that's why we end up here is because we're always thinking we can figure out life and we can't.
We are justifying, rationalizing, and the
Yes.
other piece to that, as far as like you're talking about denial and blame and guilt and all that stuff. The one thing that that I try to explain to patients today is we've developed a relationship with our drink, with our drug.
Yeah.
And that relationship is even stronger than our marriages. Okay.
Yeah.
And they don't make that connection.
It's even
either.
stronger than our relationship with ourselves.
Exactly. So really, until they can get to that point as well and realize that, I guess you're right there. So you know what? To get into recovery, it's time to make that divorce.
It is. And you know what? You know what's funny is, you talk about getting people to that point, and then they put down the drink. And then they discovered the drink was just a symptom of the real problem.
Right.
They're like, are you kidding me?
Right.
That's what happened with me. I
Yeah.
put down the drink, and I wasn't really all that happy. I was happy I wasn't drinking. Things were different. But one day somebody said, how is it being sober? And I said, you know what? Being sober would be great if it wasn't for these fucking feelings.
Right.
You know?
That
No, sir.
emotional roller
Yes.
coaster.
Now, see, for me, I got on the pink cloud real quick because all of a sudden I was feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I wasn't going to be judged anymore because I was always hiding. I was a hider. I was an isolator. And so I was on the pink cloud until the dark clouds roll in.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And,
But that's when people discover sobriety is so
Yeah.
much more than putting the drink down.
So much more.
It's essential. You have to do that. You can't get sober while you're drinking. But once you do, that's why the steps are there. And they're right. They're not all rehabs and recovery facilities are 12-based.
No,
12
we've heard
they're
plenty
not.
of them.
Right.
Smart recovery.
And some of them may work for some people.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not whatever I've experienced, but I know for me, I can only speak for myself, that this works. And
Me
the
too.
people that I know,
It works.
this works. And I think part of the reason is it not only teaches you that you have to be abstinent from alcohol and drugs, but it gives you a design for living that you didn't have.
I
Right.
so wish I had when I was young.
Yeah, I know. I
And
think
it
that too.
really gets you to have to look at self,
Right.
right?
It's all about self.
What is my part in all
Interacting
my
with the rest of the world.
interactions?
Yeah.
How do I fit into all that? Because now I know I can't change all that out there. I got to change, so I'm okay with all that out there.
Right. I got to change me, which is the only thing I can
Exactly.
change anyway.
Exactly.
That's right.
And so that's where the work really starts. What a couple words of wisdom would you give somebody who is contemplating dealing with their disease for the first time or is new in the program? What I always say is the key to the program ultimately is one day at a time.
Yeah, absolutely, one day at a time, because if you look at the big picture of it and you say, what, a 20-year-old or 30-year-old, what, you mean I can never have a drink or a drug again? When they look at that scheme, that's sometimes very overwhelming.
Right. They say,
And
I can't
then
do
they're just
that.
You're
gonna
taking
get a
my
case
binky
of,
away?
Then they're just going to get
Yeah.
a case of the fuckets and
Yeah.
pick up again.
What's interesting is if you lay it out like that, like let's say a 20-year-old, there was a 20-year-old newcomer a couple of weeks ago. If you were to say to him, yeah, you can't have a drink again in your life,
Right.
he's going to go, I can't do that. You know, he's right. He can't.
Right.
But one day at a time, he can.
That's more
Yeah,
manageable.
oh my God, it's the only way.
Absolutely.
What else? Anything?
Like all the key words that are said in the rooms, one of the things that I always talk about that is important, because I guess I can only speak for me, my tendency, I was an isolator. Okay, it's not that I could drink with everybody and party with everybody and all that stuff, but even in a crowded room, I'm still alone. But in the throes of that isolation, regardless of the situation, a letter was sent in to me where I work, and it really resonated with me, and I share it with groups to this day. The way this person wrote it, the opposite of addiction is connection.
There you go.
We need to connect with other like-minded individuals. We can't do it with our spouse if they don't have a problem. We can't do it with a family member if they don't have the problem, because all they want to do is just shake the shit out of you and say, just stop.
Yeah, what's
Why
wrong
can't
with
you
you?
just stop?
Yeah.
You need to connect with other like-minded individuals and share your experience, strength, and hope.
Love that.
Talk about that stuff. Talk about the feelings. Talk about emotions. Talk about, the war stories, the drunkalogs. Talk about all that stuff.
It all
The more
helps.
you talk about it, the easier it becomes and the further away you are from that drink or drug.
And here's Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob in Akron experiencing that and talking through the night and then being okay and going, you know what? Something happened.
Yeah.
Something happened. And that's what we do today. And it's, we're coming up on, 90 years, I think, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck people did before that. Because holy shit, was I fortunate to be born in a time when there was AA, because I would have been severely dead by now. Severely dead, is that even a thing? Is there a non-severely dead? Anyways, Tim, we want to thank you so much for coming in and sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us. I know it's going to help people out there that listen to the Glum Lot Podcast. And until next time, I'm Mark.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Tim.
As we wrap up another episode of the Glum Lot Podcast, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you who tuned in today. Navigating the path to recovery from alcohol and other substances is a journey filled with challenges, triumphs, and self-discovery. Remember, we're not affiliated with Alcoholics Anonymous, but we're here to provide a safe space for open conversations about the complexities of recovery. Your stories, courage, and resilience inspire us and our listeners alike. If you or someone you know is on the transformative journey, know that you're not alone. Join us next time as we continue to explore the diverse facets of recovery. Until then, stay strong, stay connected, and remember that each day is a step towards a brighter, sober tomorrow. Thank you for being part of the Glum Lot community.